Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar of the month. This is Affordable and Powerful GP Add-ons by GP Elementz. So we actually have Sean Dorward, one of our implementation consultants, and Dynamics GP Practice Lead, Microsoft MVP, running the webinar for us today. Myself, Chelsea Schleff, the Director of Marketing and Sales, or Sales and Marketing, however you decide to look at it, on the line as well for any questions that may come up in that area. So as far as what we've got today, GP Elementz is, sorry Sean, I'm going to backtrack for 1 second. GP Elementz is an ISV add-on for GP, and I know you guys have seen and heard of a lot of them. This is one that is new to us. We met them actually at GPUG Summit last year and kind of saw what they had to offer and really just fell in love with it. And we wanted to introduce it to you because we think it's a very valuable set of tools that really anyone could use. So I know I jumped ahead. Just a little bit about us. If you're not familiar, Interdyne Artists, we're a GP partner. We're headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina. Been in business for quite a bit of time and have quite a bit of experience in the GP area. We also run a user conference once a year that is a full-day event, and this year is April 26th at the Ritz-Carlton in Charlotte. Many people, or many of you may have already registered or are planning to register. We did have some early bird pricing at the end of last year, so unfortunately that's expired, but if you contact Sean, our presenter, and he'll give you his contact information here at the end, he has a special discount code for you. So be sure to take advantage of that. It's only valid for the next week, so feel free to register with that to save a little bit of money. Lastly, as far as questions, since this is a very quick webinar, we have a lot of content to get in 30 minutes. Go ahead, put them in the question box. I'll be monitoring those. If I can respond to you during the webinar, I will. If not, we'll take those offline and get back to you as soon as we can. And Sean's just pulling up our Vision website there. So it's interdyneartists.com/vision. But there's lists of all the sessions that are available as well. Sean, I'll turn it back over to you since I'm not doing a very good job following your PowerPoint here.
Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great, Chelsea. Thanks for everything. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon to talk about GP Elementz. As Chelsea mentioned, my name's Sean Dorward. I'm the GP Practice Lead here at Interdyne Artists. Thank you for joining us. One of the great takeaways from the GPUG Summit event last October was some of the offerings and discoveries at the expo, where all the vendors and ISVs were. And Chelsea, myself, and Shannon, I think we were all together, and Bailey was there as well, and we came across GP Elementz. GP Elementz has 6 basic core groups of functionality, and normally when we do an ISV preview, we kind of have those folks come on board, on the webinar and show up. But I've been so excited about this. These 3 in particular, different offerings. They're very, very affordable, which I love. I'm a budget kind of guy, so I wanted to share this with our customers so that I feel like a lot of the folks that we partner with out there can really, really benefit from some of these things. We're going to talk about these 3 areas, but in addition, if you check out their website, gpelements.uk, I think, but we'll get you that for sure. They have a customer headquarter, which is a web portal. They have a security tool and an invoice transformer, which is kind of cool too. But I'm going to focus on these 3 here. We're going to talk about enhanced notes, financial elements, and distribution elements. So what these packages are, and that's essentially enhanced notes is sort of just this kind of add-on to the note functionality in GP, and I'm going to show you about that. But the other 2, the financial elements and the distribution elements, they're a package of functionality, which you're going to really like. I feel like you're going to really like seeing some of these cool things. Trust me, they're pretty great. So let me show you enhanced notes. Enhanced notes, basically simple and easy to use. And I really, really like this. I am an advocate of documentation, but as we all know, the notes in GP, they're not very intuitive. They can go pretty far, but there's a lot of shortcomings. And enhanced notes from GP Elementz does do a very, very good job of sort of making this mini CRM or this audit trail system for you in notes. And I'm going to show you some of these things here. The notes functionality, the enhanced notes, is built around the standard notes in GP. So what you know about notes now, that'll still exist. That won't change. Document attachments, etc. This integrates into your Outlook email if you use Outlook. That's just native GP email functionality. So you can email tasks. And this is pretty much wherever notes exist already. So if the note is in GP, this functionality can be available to you. These products, before I forget to mention, I put these on my laptop. It took just a few 5-10 minutes tops to install. It was really easy. It reminded me of how easy it is to kind of get an app on our phone. It isn't the sort of ISV where there's going to be a downtime and system outage. This is very simple. It needs to be installed, each one individually if you decide to get more than one. Now, one thing to mention about this, and I did go through and test this, is if you do use the note functionality in GP already, this will, all those notes will be retained in a record. So let me go ahead and show you some of this functionality. So I'm going to come into GP, into the inventory module. And as I mentioned, these notes are available all throughout the system. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull up an inventory item. So here's my note for this inventory item. And you see I don't have any note on there right now. I'm going to come back and show you the quick setup for this. So if I come in, I have a shortcut here. The setup is very simple. This is all something I did myself. Notice you can control who can delete notes. I have it just set simply for our show and tell today for power users. But you can also specify individual users by role. So maybe you have a role in the system that says managers can edit and delete or something like that. You can also have these notes get integrated basically with the security groups for tasks. You can have categories and subcategories. I've just typed in a few categories that sort of make sense. I didn't put any subcategories. Actually, that's not true. I think on financial, I put a couple. You're right. So if I choose financials, my category, I have two set up here. These are just text fields. So they're real easy to add. Once they're used, they kind of there because you have existing notes against them. So I'm going to go ahead. None of my subcategories are required. I do have the ability to delete and edit. Keep in mind that that can be changed by user. So I'm going to come into item maintenance, and I have some things going on with this item. This is the new note window. This is the existing note window. You're familiar with this, the attach. And like I said, it's the same document attachment window. But what we're going to do is here, we're going to say, okay, this item is going discontinued 430, right? So, and now we want to make sure that we just assign that to as our financial category, and then we're going to attach that. So that puts that in our note, just like normal. And now I have this audit trail over here showing me the user that added the note and the date and time. Remember, I can edit and delete, that can be changed. So then maybe I have the shipping department, the shipping department saying a final shipment received 420 or something like that. And they're just gonna, this is the shipping department, and I'm going to email this over to someone. So I'm just going to email this to myself. I need to let them know that the final shipment was received. So I'm going to hit OK. It tells me that my email's been sent. And if I look back at my notes, now I've got this additional record here. The final shipment is received 420. Now I have only two records here. If this was a different user, it would show the user ID. This is my GP user ID here. And notice it's got the hyperlink there telling me that I've emailed someone, and that someone is me, and here's the email that I just received. That's a simple email, but it does take care of that multiple tasks that you may have to go through for things like this. So then maybe we want to remind the warehouse. We'll do a final stock count on 427. And this time, instead of emailing them, we're going to tell this is the warehouse. We're going to assign that to someone, and we're going to assign it to a GP user called shipping department. And we're even going to assign a due date, and we'll make that 427. So now when we attach that, that now is going to show on that GP user's home screen as a task that needs to be completed. If I put an email address in there, it would have emailed it off. And if I realize that maybe that date is incorrect, if I have access to editing, I can certainly do so. And then if I want to print this, I have a full audit trail of all of my notes. So these are distinct notes on the record rather than the old method, which is one individual note that you just kind of add and add and add to. That's just one example of how one might use this functionality. So let's go, and now we have this inventory item, and let's go ahead and I'm going to show you one other cool thing. If you use the sales module for sales orders, I'm going to come in the sales order, and I'm just going to kind of come through this real quick. And put this in my weekly batch. Now this is just an order, and I'm going to use that inventory item. Notice I have my note turns yellow here, and I can go out and see the notes that have been attached to that inventory item. I don't have to go back to the item maintenance window. So I have this now, and I'm going to go ahead and put an order note on this document. So this is an order note, customer wants this fast, and I'm going to put this in the sales, and I'm just going to attach that nice and easy. So now that note is on the order. What I love about this is as this moves down the system and we transfer this, save it, and we transfer this to a sales invoice. I'm going to do that real quick. Actually, did it already do it? Did I lose it? There we go. I was pulling up the wrong one there. So as I transfer this to a sales invoice, that note, instead of me having to worry about what order number was with what sales invoice number, that order note from the order, it actually gets transferred over to the sales document, to the sales invoice. So you don't have to go backwards in the system to find that information. Pretty cool stuff. So that is enhanced notes, sort of in a nutshell, but like I said, that's available anywhere in the system. I put on the slide here just something off of GP Elementz website, which shows the standard functionality and then the enhancement that comes along with the enhanced notes. So just a little bit about that. Now I want to show you some cool things in the financial elements package. Efficiencies right from the start, and without a doubt, like I mentioned, this is real easy to install, and certainly efficiencies right from the start. And I'm going to show you some of that right now. So there's a package of things. This is just a list of some of the things that I would like to share with you if we have time. And there's definitely a grouping of imports. You can do a general ledger import, a payables import, a manual payment import, which I really like, and then lastly, a receivables import. So I'm going to show you the payables import. It's very simple to set up. In fact, I really like the method that they use, which just basically identifies columns in your Excel file. So I have a real simple definition here. In fact, I called it basic because it was very simple. And now I'm going to tell it where to get the file from. Well, here's my file, by the way, real simple. Document number, a description, the vendor, and an amount. Certainly yours would be a little more detailed than that. But pretty easy. So 4 columns. I'm going to tell it where the file is. Now, if I go back here, I'm going to put in import 1 as my batch. If the batch doesn't exist, let me spell it right. Sorry, my OCD does not let me get past that without fixing it. Anyway, that's just me. So create the batch, point to the file, and from there, I'm just going to hit redisplay. Now, as this redisplays, it's going to give me sort of the ability to preview my transactions. And while previewing them, I can make changes if I need to or fix my file. And if I'm ready to go, I can just hit process. And now all my transactions have been imported into my payables batch. That same functionality is available for general ledger, receivables, and manual checks. So there's my import 1 batch. Boom. So now I don't have to do any of that work. So next is the GL batch view. I'm going to show you the GL batch view. So if I come into financial and I go to inquiry and GL batch view, batch views are available for general ledger, payables, and receivables. I'm going to show you the general ledger here. And what this does is you actually pull up your batch and it audits, it sort of goes through and says, hey, here's all your transactions. And if any of them have errors, it gets a red stop sign there. So this is going to help you stop that whole posting to batch recovery. So real easy, I can click on that and see what my error is. The account is inactive. I don't have to research this. It tells me. I'm just going to go into the transaction, click on my account, fix my account, and then redisplay my batch to make sure all my errors are fixed. That's pretty cool. So then I could just jump to my batch and go ahead and post that without any trouble. Pretty cool stuff. That's available for payables and receivables. Next up is transaction analysis. This is pretty fancy stuff. We're going to do payables, transaction analysis, and receivables. And let's go ahead and pull this up here. This is a little bit too cool for school, right? And I'm going to show you some of this stuff. So if I have a vendor, I'm going to pull my vendor up. Here's my vendor. Now, instead of me looking at my transactions by vendor in my normal functionality for GP, here's that window. You see I've got things are multi-road in this view, and the analysis view, things are single road. I can see if they're on hold. I see everything all on one screen. I can filter this down by dates. If I want certain document types, I can use that as well. But what I love about this is now I have this information and I can just click this Excel button, which I certainly do not have in the other window. And this is going to open up an Excel file with that information populated for me, already formatted, including totals with the sum formulas in there for me to use. Pretty awesome stuff. That's the transaction, or excuse me, the transaction analysis. This is also available, the same thing for the receivables module. Also here, notice I've got, as I filter this down, I get a new total rather than no total over here. And of course, I can link and jump around to my windows. Next up, I want to show you the trial balance. So trial balance for Excel, I'm going to do the same thing here for payables. It's just as true for receivables. And I'm going to come into the payables age trial balance. Now this window is pretty simple. All I have to do is pick my vendor if I want to control it by vendor, or I can do it for all of them. I have the option to move this to a screen report, just like native GP does. I can move this to a CSV or Excel. Why would you ever want to move it to a CSV? Well, maybe for an integration of some sort or for XML. But I'm just going to use this in Excel, and I'm going to print. So this is a pretty small, actually, I don't even know if I have any open for that vendor. Hope I do. I have a couple. So now I get an age trial balance for my travel company already in Excel. No longer do I have to do this. Now I filtered it by one vendor, but you could have done it for all. And it already gives it the auto formatting for grouping. So you can see summary level, or just click and see the individual detail for the transactions. And as I mentioned, that is available for receivables as well. So next up, a couple other windows I want to show you here. The GL inquiry window. So we have our normal general ledger inquiry, which is this detail. But I want to show you the GP Elementz version, which is right here. Now, take a second and let's just look at these cash accounts here. So first off, you see I have the same sort of filtering options on both sides. Everything here is 2-row, multi-row per record. I'm multi-row per record here, but I get a little bit more information surfaced right to me. But even cooler, so if I look at this and I say I want to filter this down to those 2 days for that day, I get a couple. This is what I need to investigate, or maybe this is what I need to look into for my reconciliation. I can move this, you guessed it, right to Excel so that I don't have to take that file and save it as a CSV and do the tab delimited and all that stuff. So that's a nice functionality for general ledger detail. I love that. That's going to be your best friend. I'm already using that all the time, this particular one. Real simple and real easy to use. One over in the sales module is a customer credit check. If you use the sales module, and let's see, that would be under inquiry. So if I pull up a particular customer, I can see sort of a forecast on the receivables and open transactions And if I had a new order, like say I was on the phone with them, I could put that in there and see the forecast and how this would work out for that particular customer. Nice little feature. And let's see, then I'm going to go to vendor remittance reprint. Actually, let me stay in the sales module. I'll do the sales order view since we're already talking about customers. The sales order view, if you use the sales module, this is actually, I'm in the wrong one here. That's the order view. It would be customer view. So if I pull up a customer, now I can see all of the inventory items that this customer has purchased, not just the orders. That's the customer view, gives us a bit more detail about what they've ordered rather than just summary level at the top. Pretty cool. And then I want to show you the vendor remittance reprint. So a lot of times when we have some back and forth with our vendors, and maybe we don't have a remittance handy, you can go ahead and just very simply reprint remittances with this tool. And what it does is I'm going to do this by vendor, and this will actually reprint all of this vendor remittance. You see I have 18 pages here. So I can actually get a good document that shows all of them. But if I wanted to break that down even more, I could go ahead and do by, certain check dates and then get a more limited report with just those remittances on there. Still have 13, but I just picked a common date in my system. 412 is everything in this system. Pretty cool. So that brings us to the end of the financial elements area. I love that there's tons more available here. I wanted to make sure I pointed that out to you. And next is the distribution elements package. Again, if this is predominantly for folks who do use distribution, NGP, inventory, POP, SOP. So I'm going to show you some things here. A lot of this focuses around inventory. So let's take a look at the inventory item view. If you do use inventory and you're probably familiar with either having to live in a single smart list or having to live with 4 different windows open in order to get the appropriate information that you need for inventory. So I'm going to pull up a used item in my system. And now notice what I have here. So this is giving me high-level information about the inventory item. It's standard cost, current cost, list price, and selling price. Over here, I have all of my stock status fields on hand allocated and links to go right to them. Also things that are on back order and what our potential is. Down here in this scrolling window is a breakdown by location of quantity on hand, all in the same window. And then if I wanted to, I could take a look at open purchase orders for this inventory item and historic purchase orders for this inventory item, all in one window. Now over here, these are the sales orders relating to this inventory item. So if I want to see, it's currently showing them all, but if I wanted to filter it down by a customer, I could type part of the customer's name in here, and it's just going to present to me a list of customers that meet that condition, pick the customer, and now I see the single sales order that matches this inventory item, all in this one inventory item view. This is fantastic. I really like this. I think you will too if you use the sales order module. You'll probably have this anchored to your home screen. The item quantity view gets a little bit more information, so let me show you that. Let me pull up one of my wires here. Remember it. There we go. This is the item quantity view. This is going to give us the same thing, but on a high level and show us the breakdown. So if I wanted to see this inventory quantity on hand and the totals, that's what this window's for. Next up is an inventory valuation view. This, by view, it's just a window. It's a way of looking at it. So let me take a look at this one, and we're just going to go to, I can do this by site, or I can click on all sites. So I'm going to see all sites. Inventory valuation view. So this is telling me for this inventory item, by valuation, this is what I have at this site, how many, what it costs, and the extended cost. Pretty cool. All in one view. So then you have another one that kind of does the same thing, but it's by range. So if you wanted to look at multiple inventory items like that, so let's just pick the first one, and then we'll pick this one here, and then redisplay it. So now I can see for this inventory item, here's the quantity received. I can see multiple inventory items. I could do this by class ID and location as well. It doesn't need to be inventory item restricted. Super, super usable. I love this. And if I want to drill down on this, I can just highlight it and go into the blue arrow, and it's going to show me by warehouse, by site ID. So let me find one that has more than one site ID. And they all look like they just have one, but you get the idea. If there was more than one, there we go. Actually, they're all warehouse, but it's broken out by different days. So that's the valuation view in a range. Also, like I showed you for the payables and sales, receivables, and general ledger, the batch views. So if we come into the inventory has one as well, we come into transactions. Let me see. Let me get to batch view. There it is. So I'm going to pull up a batch here. And again, this is going to do error checking for me. And that one is empty. They might all be empty. But just like the payables, if there were errors, there we go. This one is good, no errors, so I can go ahead and post it. If there were errors, it would show me, and I could go to the document number to fix. Oh, I apologize. Actually, there is an error showing up here. Fixed fiscal period for the posting date is closed. So that's on the batch level, not on the document level. So I would need to go fix my batch date. Looks like I tried to post it in the 2014. And we'll redisplay that. And now we see that we have no error on the batch header. So that's the inventory batch. And next is, let's see, running short on time. Let me show you the sales batch transfer. Actually, let me show you the inventory transfer. So inventory transfer is a functionality in the system already, but if you need to move completely from one location to another, or if you need to move an entire bin, you can do that as well, rather than having to do individual lines in your transfer entry. So that is about what I have time for to show you today. This is some of the other things that we didn't get to, but age inventory report, just like in the payables module. The inventory scheduling analysis is pretty cool as well. And purchase order date changes. So if you do use purchase orders and you need to change commitment dates, you can do that very easily through a little window that is included in distribution elements. So that brings us to the end of our time this afternoon. I thank you again for joining us. Don't forget to check out Vision, interdynaartist.com/vision. And if you are looking to join us and you want a discount code, my email is on there. Feel free to reach out to me. I have a discount code I can send to you. Thank you again for joining us. Chelsea, if there's anything that we need to tie up before we let folks get back to their busy workday?
No, just my email address is on there as well. If you have any questions about GP Elements, or if you need any more information, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we thank you all for joining us today. Have a great afternoon.